The lights in the meeting room were too bright. Hyunwoo sat at the long metal table and rubbed his tired eyes. He had been watching the same video for 3 hours now. Around him, 12 different alien species argued in their various languages. Some clicked, some buzzed, and some made sounds like grinding metal. The video played again on the giant screen. It showed a human city burning. Smoke filled the air between tall buildings. Robot soldiers marched through empty streets, their red eyes glowing in the darkness. But that was not what made everyone so interested. In the center of the screen, one human fought alone. The video was old and damaged. The colors were wrong, and the picture jumped around. It came from a broken spy drone that crashed during the battle. Nobody knew this video existed until a week ago. Now it was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Hyunwoo watched the human soldier again. The man wore torn green clothes and carried an old rifle. He moved between broken cars and fallen walls like he was dancing. When the robots shot at him, he was never where they aimed. When they tried to surround him, he found ways to escape that should not have worked. "This cannot be real," said Veltar, the big blue alien who controlled the Krunian war fleet. His voice sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "One human against 200 robots? Impossible!" Taemin, the young gray alien at the far end of the table, looked up from his computer. His large black eyes reflected the screen light. "The video is real, Admiral. I checked it many times. No changes, no fake parts." So Young, the only other human in the room, said nothing. She sat very still and watched the screen. Her face was pale. On the video, the human soldier grabbed a metal pipe from the ground. He threw it like a spear at a robot's head. The robot fell backward and crashed into 3 others. The human was already moving, rolling behind a broken wall as laser beams burned the air where he had been standing. "How long did this last?" asked Zin Aura, an insect-like creature with 4 arms. 6 hours and 17 minutes, Taiman answered. The human held this position for over 6 hours. The robots never got past him. The room became quiet. 6 hours was longer than most trained alien soldiers could fight. This human had no backup, no heavy weapons, and no armor. He should have died in the first 10 minutes. Hyunwoo leaned forward. He had studied humans for 20 years, but he still did not understand them. What was he protecting? "Underground shelters," So Young said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken. 30,000 people were hiding below the city. The evacuation ships were destroyed. If the robots had gotten through... She did not finish, but everyone understood. 30,000 dead civilians. On the screen, the human picked up a robot's gun. The weapon was too big for human hands, but he made it work anyway. He fired 3 shots and destroyed 5 robots. Then he threw the gun away and grabbed a broken piece of concrete. He used it to smash another robot's head. "This fighting style," Taemin said, typing quickly on his computer. "I have seen something like it before. Very old human records mention hand-to-hand combat methods, but those are thousands of years old." Veltar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humans still use ancient fighting? How primitive." "Primitive, but effective," Hyunwoo said. He had seen human soldiers before. They were smaller and weaker than most alien fighters, but they never gave up. Even when they should. The video showed the human running along a broken wall. 3 robots flew overhead, shooting laser beams at him. He jumped between falling pieces of building and somehow reached a tall tower. He climbed up the outside of the tower while the robots tried to follow. "Look at his movements," Taemin said excitedly. His reaction time is 0.003 seconds. That is the maximum possible for human biology. Not enhanced, not changed. Just a normal human at perfect limits. So Young's hands were shaking slightly. She gripped the edge of the table. The human reached the top of the tower. He found some kind of explosive device there and changed its settings. When the robots flew up to catch him, he jumped off the tower. The explosion destroyed all 3 robots and part of the building. The human landed in a pile of trash and garbage far below. He got up and kept fighting. Insane, whispered Corvell, a snake-like alien with purple scales. He jumped 50 meters. How did he survive? Humans are very good at surviving, Hyun-woo said. That is why we invited them to join the Galactic Council. They find ways to live when everyone else would die. The video showed the final hour of the battle. The human was moving slower now. His green clothes were red with blood. One of his arms hung at a strange angle. But he still fought. When his rifle broke, he used the pieces as weapons. When those broke, he threw rocks. Finally, new ships arrived. In the sky, human reinforcements came down and destroyed the remaining robots. The lone soldier sat down on a pile of rubble and put his head in his hands. The video ended there. Who was he? Asked Zin-Ora. Taemin checked his computer files. No name in the records. The official reports say all civilians were evacuated and all soldiers died, but here is someone who clearly lived through the whole battle. So Young stood up suddenly. I need some air, she said, and walked quickly out of the room. Hyun-woo watched her leave. Humans always acted strange when they saw videos of war. Perhaps it reminded them of their own mortality. We need to find this soldier, Veltar said. If humans can do this, we need to know how. Our war plans against the robot fleets are all wrong. Agreed, said Hyun-woo. But finding one human among billions will not be easy, and the battle was 3 years ago. He could be anywhere now. Outside in the hallway, So Young walked slowly toward the worker sections of the station. Her mind was full of thoughts she did not want to have. The way the soldier moved in the video, the specific techniques he used, even the way he held his head when he finally sat down. It all looked familiar. Too familiar. She thought about Dong-hyun, the quiet maintenance worker who fixed the air systems on night shifts. He came from the outer colonies, just like the city in the video. He never talked about his past, and he always seemed sad about something. So Young shook her head. It was impossible. Dong-hyun was gentle and soft-spoken. He could barely lift. Heavy repair tools. He was nothing like the warrior in the video. But as she walked past the maintenance bay, she saw him through the open door. Dong-hyun was checking pipes in the ceiling. He moved with perfect balance, never making a sound. His eyes constantly checked all the exits and corners of the room. For just a moment, So Young saw him differently. Not as a worker, but as someone who knew how to survive. The next morning, Hyun-woo called another meeting. This time, only the military leaders came. The room felt heavy with serious thoughts. Everyone had spent the night thinking about the video. Veltar arrived first, his blue skin darker than usual. Behind him came 3 other Krunian officers, all wearing their black military uniforms. They sat on one side of the table like a wall of blue muscle. Zin-Ora entered with her usual clicking sounds. Her 4 arms carried different computer devices. She never went anywhere without her technology. 2 younger insect aliens followed her, their wings making soft buzzing noises. The door slid open again, and General Corvell slithered in. His purple scales caught the light as he moved to his special chair. Snake aliens did not sit like others, so the station had built him a custom place to rest. Hyunwoo waited until everyone was ready. "We need to talk about what the video means," he said. "Our computers have studied it all night. The results are concerning." Taemin stood up and activated the big screen. Numbers and charts appeared in many colors. The human soldier's performance was beyond our predictions. According to our models, he should have lasted 12 minutes. He lasted over 6 hours. "Your models are wrong," Veltar said with anger. "One human cannot fight like that. Maybe the video shows multiple soldiers and we just cannot tell them apart." "No," Taemin replied, his large eyes blinking slowly. "I checked the biological markers, heart rate, breathing patterns, movement style. It is definitely one individual. The same human for the entire battle." Corvell raised his snake-like head. "Perhaps the human was enhanced? Robot parts? Chemical improvements? Genetic changes?" "Also no," said Taemin. "The scans show normal human. Biology. No metal parts, no unusual chemicals, just baseline human limits pushed to maximum." Zinora clicked her mandibles together, a sign of confusion among her species. "This makes no sense. Our war simulations show that humans are good soldiers, but not this good. They are smaller and weaker than most species." Hyunwoo nodded. "That is what we always believed. But maybe we were looking at the wrong things. Humans do not win fights because they are big or strong. They win because they refuse to lose." On the screen, Taemin showed a chart comparing different species. "Look at these numbers. Krunians are 3 times stronger than humans. Zarathi have faster reflexes. Zin-Aura's people can see in more colors and hear higher sounds. But humans have something else." "What?" asked Veltar. "Stubbornness," Hyunwoo said. "When a Krunian soldier knows he cannot win, he retreats to fight another day. When a Zarathi realizes the odds are impossible, she finds a smart way out. But humans keep fighting even when they know they will die." The room became quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. In space battles, aliens fought with logic and strategy. They retreated when necessary, and only attacked when they could win. But humans might not follow those rules. Taemin brought up another chart. "I studied more human battle records from the last 50 years. This pattern appears many times. Small groups of humans holding impossible positions. Single humans doing things our computers say cannot work." "Show us," said Corvell. The screen displayed a list of battles. A human ship captain who rammed his damaged vessel into an enemy fleet to save a civilian transport. 2 human marines who held a bridge for 8 hours against an entire alien army. A human pilot who flew her broken fighter into a space station's reactor to stop it from firing on a planet. "They all died," Zin-Aura observed. "Yes," said Hyunwoo, "but they accomplished their goals. They saved others. That seems to matter more to humans than staying alive." Veltar stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across the table. "This is exactly why humans are dangerous. They do not think like rational beings. They are unpredictable. That is also why they make good allies," Hyunwoo replied calmly. "A human soldier will never abandon his friends, never surrender when civilians need protection. Can you say the same about Krunian troops?" Veltar's face turned a darker shade, of blue, but he did not answer. Taemin cleared his throat, a sound like wind through metal tubes. "There is something else. I enhanced the video quality and found one clear frame where we can see the soldier's face. The screen changed to show a close-up image. It was blurry and dark, but they could see a human male with short black hair and tired eyes. His face was covered in dirt and blood, but his expression was calm, almost sad. "Can you identify him?" asked Zin-Ora. "The facial recognition software is running now," Taemin said. "But human faces are very similar to alien eyes. It will take time to get accurate results." Meanwhile, in another part of the station, So-Young sat in her small quarters. She had not slept well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the video. The way the soldier moved reminded her of someone, but she could not figure out who. She activated her personal communication device and contacted Earth. After a few minutes, her brother Jae-ho appeared on the screen. He looked older than when she last saw him. "So young." "It is good to see you," he said with a smile. "How is life among the aliens?" "Strange as always," she replied. "Jae-ho, I need to ask you something. Do you remember the battle at New Pyongyang? 3 years ago?" His smile disappeared. "Of course. It was terrible. Why do you ask?" "The official records say everyone was either evacuated or killed. No survivors who stayed behind during the fighting." Jae-ho nodded. "That is correct. The evacuation ships were destroyed, so anyone left in the city died when the robots took over. Very sad." So-Young felt confused. But what if someone survived? What if someone fought the robots and lived? "Impossible," Jae-ho said. "The robot army was too big. No human could have lasted more than a few minutes alone." "Why are you asking these questions?" "No reason," So-Young lied. "Just curious about history." After ending the call, she felt more confused than before. The official records clearly stated that no one survived the final battle, but the video showed someone who definitely lived through the whole thing. Either the records were wrong or the man in the video was never officially there. So-Young walked to the observation deck where she could see space through the big windows. Stars filled the darkness like tiny lights. She often came here to think when work became too stressful. As she stood there, she heard quiet footsteps behind her. She turned and saw Dong-hyun carrying a toolbox. He worked the night shift, so most people never saw him during normal hours. "Hello, So-Young," he said in his soft voice. "You are awake very late?" "Could not sleep," she replied. "What about you? Working on the air systems again?" Dong-hyun nodded. "The filters in Section 12 need replacement. Old station, old problems." He paused and looked out at the stars. "Sometimes I wonder what Earth looks like from here." "You are from the outer colonies, right?" So-Young asked. "Yes. A small mining world. Not very interesting." His voice became even quieter. "My family lived there for many years before the war." "The war must have been difficult." Dong-hyun was silent for a long time. Then he said, "War is always difficult. People die, cities burn, families get separated." He looked at his hands. "Sometimes the only thing you can do is try to protect what matters most." Something in his voice made So-Young look at him more carefully. In the starlight, his face looked tired and sad, like someone who had seen too much death. "I should get back to work," Dong-hyun said. "The air systems will not fix themselves." As he walked away, So-Young noticed how quietly he moved. His feet made no sound on the metal floor. He held his toolbox, like it weighed nothing, even though she knew those tools were heavy. For someone who claimed to be just a simple maintenance worker, Dong-hyun moved like a soldier. Dong-hyun finished his shift at 6 in the morning, station time. The hallways were empty except for the cleaning robots. He walked slowly toward his quarters, carrying his heavy toolbox with one hand like it was filled with feathers. His room was small and simple. A bed, a desk, a tiny kitchen area, and a window that showed the endless darkness of space. He had lived here for 2 years, and the room still looked like he had just moved in. No pictures on the walls, no personal items on the desk, just the basic furniture that came with every worker's quarters. Dong-hyun sat on his bed and opened the toolbox. Inside, beneath the real repair tools, was a hidden compartment. He pulled out a small metal object that looked like a broken piece of machinery. But it was not broken. It was a memory chip from his old rifle, the one that had saved his life during the battle. He held the chip in his palm and remembered that terrible day. The screaming civilians, the burning buildings, the endless waves of robots. His sister Miran calling him on the radio, begging him to leave the city with her patients. The moment he decided to stay behind and buy them time to reach the underground shelters. 6 hours and 17 minutes. That was how long he had held that street corner. The longest 6 hours of his life. Dong-hyun put the chip back in its hiding place and closed the toolbox. He had never told anyone what really happened that day. The official records listed him as missing, presumed dead. It was easier that way. Dead heroes could not disappoint people by being ordinary. 3 levels up, Taemin worked in the computer center. He had been awake all night, running facial recognition programs on the soldier from the video. The computers were slow because human faces were difficult for alien software to analyze properly. Finally, the program finished. Taemin looked at the results and felt his hearts skip a beat. Zarathi had 2 hearts, and both of them stopped for a moment when he saw what the computer had found. Facial recognition match, 97.6% probability. Current location, Station Kepler, 442B. Current identity, Dong-hyun, maintenance worker, night shift. Taemin checked the results 3 times to make sure he was not making a mistake. The computer was certain. The legendary warrior from the video was living on their station, fixing their air filters and cleaning their waste systems. The greatest fighter in recorded galactic history was invisible to them, hidden behind a janitor's uniform and a quiet voice. Taemin saved the data to a secure file and thought about what to do next. This information was dangerous. If the wrong people learned about it, Dong-hyun could be in trouble. Some species would want to study him. Others would fear him. A few might try to eliminate him. But Taemin was curious by nature. He wanted to understand how an ordinary maintenance worker could have done such impossible things. He decided to watch Dong-hyun for a few days before telling anyone else. So-young started her shift in the diplomatic section at 8 in the morning. She handled communications between the station and various human colonies. Today, she had trouble concentrating on her work. Her mind kept returning to the conversation with Dong-hyun the night before. She accessed the station's personnel files and looked up Dong-hyun's record. Born on Kepler 186F, a mining colony in the outer systems. Parents deceased, killed in a mining accident when he was 16. 1 sister, location unknown. Basic education. No military service beyond the standard civilian defense training that all colonists received. The file said he was 28 years old, but his eyes looked much older. Like someone who had seen too much. So-young noticed something interesting in his work schedule. Dong-hyun always volunteered for the most dangerous maintenance jobs. Repairs in the reactor chamber where radiation levels were high. Fixing problems in the outer hull where one mistake meant death in space. Jobs that other workers tried to avoid. But Dong-hyun did them without complaint and never got hurt. That afternoon, Tae-min followed Dong-hyun during his shift. He was careful to stay hidden, using the station's maintenance tunnels to move around. Without being seen, Dong-hyun was replacing air filters in Section 7. Tae-min watched him work and noticed things that seemed normal at first, but became strange when you looked closely. Dong-hyun moved through the narrow maintenance spaces with perfect balance, never bumping into pipes or cables. His eyes constantly scanned his surroundings, automatically noting every exit and potential danger. When another worker dropped a heavy tool nearby, Dong-hyun's head turned toward the sound immediately, his body tensing for action. These were not the behaviors of a simple maintenance worker. These were the instincts of someone trained for combat. Tae-min watched Dong-hyun fix a broken ventilation unit. The unit weighed over 100 kilograms, but Dong-hyun lifted it alone and held it in place while he worked on it. His hands moved with precise control, never wasting motion or energy. When the repair was finished, Dong-hyun tested the unit by listening to its sounds. He could tell from tiny differences in noise whether the machine was working correctly. This kind of skill came from years of experience with equipment, but also from training to notice small details that could mean life or death. That evening, Veltar called another military meeting. The Krunian admiral was frustrated because his staff had found more human battle records that made no sense. "Look at this," he said, showing a report on the main screen. 2 human soldiers held a supply depot against 300 enemy troops for 12 hours. According to our simulations, they should have been overwhelmed in minutes. Corvell studied the report with his intelligent snake eyes. What weapons did they have? Standard infantry equipment. Nothing special. But they used the environment like it was part of their strategy. Collapsed buildings to create barriers, redirected water pipes to flood enemy positions, even used the depot's loading equipment as weapons. Hyunwoo nodded. Humans are very good at improvisation. They see opportunities where other species see only obstacles. "It is more than that," said Zin Aura, clicking her mandibles nervously. "These battle reports show humans consistently performing beyond their biological limits. Either our understanding of human capabilities is completely wrong, or something else is happening." Tae-min entered the meeting room quietly. He had made a decision about the information he had discovered, but he would share it carefully. "I have been studying the video more closely," he said. "I found something interesting about the soldiers' fighting style." He activated the screen and showed enhanced clips from the battle. "Watch how he moves. Every technique he uses has a specific purpose. This is not random fighting. This is trained combat skill, but not military training." "What do you mean?" asked Hyunwoo. "The moves are from ancient human martial arts, combined with modern tactical knowledge. Someone taught him to fight this way, but not in a military academy. This training was personal, passed down from teacher to student." Veltar leaned forward. "Are you saying humans have secret combat schools?" "Not secret," Tae-min replied. "Just forgotten. These fighting methods are very old. Most humans probably do not even know they still exist." What Tae-min did not tell them was that he had spent hours comparing the video to footage of Dong-hyun working. The way they both moved, the way they held their bodies, even the way they breathed. It was too similar to be coincidence. So Young left the meeting feeling more confused than ever. She decided to visit the observation deck again, hoping the view of space would help clear her thoughts. She found Dong-hyun there, sitting on a bench and looking out at the stars. He seemed surprised to see her. "You come here often," she said, sitting down beside him. "It reminds me of home," he replied. "The mining colony where I grew up had big windows like this. We could see 3 different stars from our house." "Ta, you miss it?" Dong-hyun was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I miss the people, my sister especially, but the place itself, there was too much sadness there at the end." "What happened to your sister?" "She became a doctor, saves lives now instead of, He stopped talking and looked down at his hands. "Instead of what?" So Young asked gently. "Instead of losing them," Dong-hyun finished quietly. So Young studied his profile in the starlight. There was something about his voice when he talked about saving lives, like he understood the weight of that responsibility personally. "Dong-hyun," she said carefully, "have you ever been in a real fight? I mean, not just the basic defense training they give colonists." He turned to look at her, and for just a moment she saw something different in his eyes. Something hard and dangerous that had nothing to do with fixing air filters. "Why do you ask?" he said. "Just curious. You move like someone who knows how to handle himself." Dong-hyun smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Everyone from the outer colonies learns to take care of themselves. Life is not easy out there." But as he said it, So Young noticed his hands. They were calloused from maintenance work, but there were other marks too. Old scars on his knuckles that looked like they came from fighting. A thin line across his left palm that could have been from a blade. These were not the hands of someone who had only fought when absolutely necessary. These were the hands of someone who had fought often and fought well. Tae-min made his decision during the night shift. He found So Young in the communication center, working late on diplomatic reports. The room was quiet, except for the soft humming of computers. "So Young," he said quietly, "I need to show you something, but you must promise to keep it secret." She looked up from her work, surprised to see the young Zarathi so late in the evening. "What kind of secret?" Tae-min activated a secure computer terminal and entered his access codes. The facial recognition results from the battle video came back. "You need to see this." The screen displayed the enhanced image of the soldier's face next to a personnel file photo. Even with the dirt and blood from the battle, the match was clear. So Young felt her heart stop. "Dong-hyun," she whispered. "The computer is 97.6% certain," Tae-min said. "The man who fought that impossible battle is working on our station, fixing our air systems." So Young stared at the screen for a long time. Part of her had suspected this, but seeing the proof still shocked her. "Are you sure the computer is not making a mistake?" "I checked the analysis myself. Same bone structure, same eye spacing, same facial proportions. It is definitely him. But his records say he has no military training, just basic civilian defense classes." Tae-min pulled up more files. "I have been watching him work for 3 days. The way he moves, the way he handles equipment, the way his eyes constantly check for dangers. These are not civilian behaviors. This is someone with serious combat training." So Young thought about all her conversations with Dong-hyun, his sadness when he talked about his sister, his comment about protecting what matters most, the old scars on his hands. "We have to talk to him," she said. "Is that wise? If he wanted people to know who he is, he would have told them already. Maybe he has good reasons for hiding." So Young stood up. Maybe, but I think he is tired of carrying this secret alone. They found Dong Hyun in Maintenance Bay 7, replacing coolant lines in the station's power system. The work was dangerous because the coolant was toxic, but he did it carefully and efficiently. Dong Hyun, So Young called softly. He turned around, and she saw him notice Tai Min's nervous expression immediately. His posture changed slightly, becoming more alert. "What can I do for you?" he asked, setting down his tools. So Young activated her personal computer and showed him the enhanced image from the video. "We know who you are." Dong Hyun looked at the screen for a long moment. His face showed no surprise, just tiredness. Like he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "I wondered when someone would figure it out," he said quietly. The video quality was bad, but technology always gets better. "Why did you not tell anyone?" Tai Min asked. "What you did was incredible. Thousands of people owe their lives to you." Dong Hyun sat down on a tool crate and rubbed his face with his hands. "Because I am not incredible. I am just someone who could not run away when people needed help. That is exactly what makes you incredible," So Young said, sitting beside him. "No," Dong Hyun replied firmly. "What I did was necessary, not heroic. My sister Miran was in that city with her patients. 30,000 people were hiding in underground shelters, waiting for evacuation ships that would never come. Someone had to buy them time to dig deeper, to find other ways out." He looked at his hands. The same hands So Young had noticed were scarred from fighting. "I was visiting Miran when the robots attacked. I was supposed to leave with the first evacuation group, but the ships were destroyed as they tried to take off. Everyone in the city was trapped. The official records say everyone died," Tai Min said. "Almost everyone did die, but not the people in the shelters. They had time to dig tunnels to the old subway system, then escape through underground passages to the next city. All because someone held that street corner for 6 hours. So Young felt tears in her eyes. "Your sister survived?" "Yes. She is a surgeon now on Earth. Saves hundreds of lives every year. She never knew what I did that day. The rescue teams found her group in the subway tunnels and assumed they had escaped on their own." "How did you learn to fight like that?" Tai Min asked. The techniques in the video were extraordinary. Dong Hyun smiled for the first time since they had started talking. "My grandfather. He grew up on Earth during the old wars, before humans went to space. He learned martial arts as a boy and never forgot them. When I was young, he taught me everything he knew. But the tactical knowledge, the way you use the environment, basic training on the mining colony. Every colonist learns basic defense because space is dangerous. Pirates, equipment failures, hostile wildlife on some worlds. But mostly, I just did what felt right in the moment." So Young shook her head. "What felt right? You held off 200 robots for over 6 hours with just basic training in old martial arts?" "I had motivation," Dong Hyun said simply. "Miran was down there in the dark with all those scared people. Children, elderly, sick patients who could not be moved. If the robots got past me, they would all die." He stood up and walked to the window that showed space beyond the station. "People think courage means not being afraid, but I was terrified the entire time. I just could not let that fear matter more than their lives." Tai Min was recording everything on his computer. "The alien military leaders need to understand this. Humans are not dangerous because you are stronger or faster. You are dangerous because you will sacrifice anything to protect others." "Please do not tell them who I am," Dong Hyun said quietly. "I came here to disappear. I just want to fix machines and live quietly." But your story could change how the galaxy sees humanity, So Young protested. My story is not about humanity. It is about one person who could not live with himself if he ran away. There are millions of humans who would have done the same thing in my situation. That is exactly the point, Taemin said excitedly. You think what you did was normal, but it was impossible according to our computers. If millions of humans could do impossible things when motivated. Dong-hyun turned away from the window. Then you understand why some species fear us. We do not follow logical rules about self-preservation. A communication alarm sounded in the hallway. So Young checked her personal device and saw an urgent message from the diplomatic center. There is a problem, she said. Long-range sensors detected a robot fleet moving toward this system, the same type that attacked New Pyongyang. Dong-hyun's entire body language changed. The quiet maintenance worker disappeared, replaced by someone alert and focused. How many ships? Unknown. They are still too far away for detailed scans. How long until they arrive? Estimated 48 hours. Dong-hyun walked quickly to his toolbox and opened the hidden compartment. He pulled out the memory chip from his old rifle and handed it to Taemin. This has tactical data from the New Pyongyang battle. Robot movement patterns, weapon capabilities, weak points in their armor. Give it to your military leaders. Where are you going? So Young asked as Dong-hyun gathered his tools. To check the station's defense systems. If those robots are coming here, we need to be ready. As he walked toward the door, Taemin called after him. Dong-hyun, the military commanders will want to talk to you. You have more experience fighting these robots than anyone. Dong-hyun paused at the doorway. Tell them what I told you. Protect what matters most, and never give up. That is the only secret. What if they need more specific advice? Then they can find me in Maintenance Bay 12. I will be making sure the life support systems work properly when the shooting starts. After he left, So Young and Taemin sat in silence for a while. He is going to fight again, So Young said finally. Yes, Taemin agreed. But this time, he will not be alone. Do you think we can win? Taemin looked at the memory chip Dong-hyun had given him. I think we have something the robots do not expect. We have humans who refuse to lose. In his quarters, Dong-hyun opened his personal communication device and composed a message to Earth. He wrote carefully, choosing his words with great thought. Mi-ran, this is your brother. If you receive this message, know that I am proud of all the lives you have saved. You became the doctor our parents always wanted you to be. Take care of yourself, and remember that some people fight so others can heal. He scheduled the message to send automatically in 72 hours, then put the device away. There was work to do and not much time to do it. Outside his window, the stars looked the same as always, but somewhere among them, death was moving toward the station at the speed of light. Dong-hyun had faced impossible odds before. This time, he would not face them alone. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began at dawn, station time. Representatives from 12 species filled the great meeting hall. The air was thick with tension and the mixed scents of different alien biologies. Hyun-woo stood at the central podium, holding the memory chip Dong-hyun had given them. Behind him, the main screen showed tactical data that had never been seen before. Real combat information from someone who had fought the robot armies and lived. Fellow council members, Hyun-woo began, we have discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about human military capabilities. He activated the screen, and the battle video played once more. But this time, it was enhanced with analysis data. Computer graphics showed movement patterns, reaction times, and tactical decisions in real time. This human soldier held a strategic position for over 6 hours against overwhelming odds. Our computer said this was impossible. We were wrong. Veltar leaned forward in his massive chair. We have seen this video before. One exceptional human proves nothing about the species as a whole. That is where you are mistaken, Hyunwoo replied. This human was not exceptional in the way you think. He had no special training, no enhanced abilities, no advanced weapons. He was an ordinary colonist who chose to protect others. The room erupted in clicking, buzzing, and hissing as different species expressed disbelief in their various languages. Taemin stood up from his chair in the technical section. The analysis is complete, Admiral Veltar. The soldier's capabilities were within normal human biological limits. What made him extraordinary was not his physical abilities, but his determination. Corvell raised his serpent head. Determination does not stop laser beams or give someone the strength to lift heavy objects. No, said Hyunwoo, but it does something else. It makes humans refuse to accept defeat even when defeat is logically certain. They find ways to win that our tactical computers cannot predict because those computers assume rational self-preservation. He gestured to the screen, where the tactical data showed impossible maneuvers and split-second decisions. Watch how he uses the environment. Every piece of debris becomes a weapon. Every broken building becomes a fortress. He turns the destruction around him into advantages. This is the lesson we must learn, Hyunwoo continued. Humans do not fight the way we fight. They do not think the way we think. When we calculate odds and make logical decisions, humans calculate how many others they can save and make emotional decisions. Zin Aura's mandibles clicked rapidly. Are you saying humans are unpredictable in combat? I am saying humans are unpredictable in everything, Hyunwoo replied. But especially when someone they care about is in danger. The council chamber fell silent as everyone considered this information. Admiral Veltar finally spoke. If what you say is true, then our entire military strategy needs to change. We have been preparing to fight logical enemies who retreat when they cannot win. But humans will never retreat. Exactly, said Hyunwoo. And that makes them either the most dangerous enemies possible or the most valuable allies. Which are they to us? Asked Corvell. Before Hyunwoo could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and automated voices announced in multiple languages, "Combat alert! All personnel to battle stations!" Through the great windows of the council chamber, they could see distant explosions lighting up the darkness of space. The robot fleet had arrived early. In Maintenance Bay 12, Dong-hyun felt the station shake as the first enemy weapons hit the outer shields. He had spent 24 hours checking every critical system on the station. Life support, power distribution, emergency backup systems, everything was ready. But he knew it would not be enough. The station was a diplomatic facility, not a military base. Its weapons were minimal, and its shields were designed to stop asteroids, not enemy fleets. So Young found him there, along with Taemin and several other station personnel who had come to help with preparations. The robot fleet is twice as large as the one that attacked New Pyongyang, she reported. 60 ships against our 8 defense vessels. Dong-hyun nodded calmly. Expected. They learned from the last battle, too. What about civilian evacuation? In progress, but the transport ships are too slow. They will never get everyone away before the robots break through our defenses. Then we hold them here as long as possible. Taemin looked confused. But the odds are impossible. Even worse than New Pyongyang. Dong-hyun smiled. And for the first time since they had known him, it was not a sad smile. The odds do not matter. What matters is buying time for those transport ships. He walked to a supply cabinet and pulled out pieces of equipment that looked like they belonged in a machine shop, not on a military base. I have been preparing for this possibility since I came to the station. There are weak points in the station's structure that can be used strategically. What do you mean? Asked So Young. If we cannot fight them in space, we fight them inside the station. Use the corridors and maintenance tunnels like trenches. Make them pay for every meter they advance. Another explosion shook the station, harder this time. Through the communication system, they heard Admiral Veltar's voice. All military personnel, to defense positions. Civilian workers report to evacuation areas. Dong-hyun ignored the announcement and continued gathering equipment. So Young, I need you to coordinate with the transport ships. Tell them to use the old mining tunnels in the asteroid field for cover. Taemin, can you access the station's environmental controls? Yes, but why? Because when the robots board the station, we are going to make it very difficult for them to see or move around. More people arrived in the maintenance bay. Word had spread somehow that Dong-hyun was preparing a defense plan. They came to help. Human workers, alien technicians, even some of the diplomatic staff. What can we do? Asked Jun Seo, a young human from the communications department. Dong-hyun looked around at all the faces watching him. Humans and aliens working together, ready to fight against impossible odds. We do what we did at New Pyongyang. We hold the line until everyone else is safe. The station shook again, and the lights flickered. The enemy was getting closer. Listen carefully, Dong-hyun said to the assembled group. The robots will try to capture the station's command center and life support systems. We cannot let them succeed. Every minute we hold them back gives the evacuation ships more time to escape. He activated a station schematic on the wall display. Here are the critical choke points. We will set up defensive positions at each one. Use everything available as weapons, tools, furniture, even pieces of the walls if necessary. How do you know this will work? Asked Yunmi, an alien engineer with 4 arms. Because it worked before, Dong-hyun replied simply. And because we have something the robots do not have. What? Asked several voices at once. We have something worth protecting. The final alarm sounded. Through the station's communication system, they heard Admiral Veltar announce. Enemy boarding pods detected. All personnel prepare for invasion. Dong-hyun picked up his makeshift weapons and headed for the door. Remember, we are not trying to win this fight. We are trying to give others time to live. That is enough. As they moved through the corridors toward their defensive positions, So Young walked beside him. What happens after this? After this, the galaxy will understand something new about humans, Dong-hyun replied. They will know that we do not fight for conquest or glory. We fight for each other. The first robot soldiers broke through the station's hull in Section 9. They expected to find terrified civilians and minimal resistance. Instead, they found humans and aliens working together, using the station itself as a weapon against them. Every corridor became a trap, every room became a battlefield, every meter of advance cost them dearly. In the command center, Admiral Veltar watched the battle unfold on his tactical displays. The robots were advancing, but much more slowly than their computers had predicted. "How are they holding them back?" he asked his staff. Tae-min, who had remained in the command center to coordinate communications, looked up from his computer. "They are not fighting like soldiers, Admiral. They are fighting like people protecting their home." On the main screen, they could see footage from the station's internal cameras. Dong-hyun and his improvised army moved through the maintenance, tunnels like ghosts, appearing where the robots least expected them, then disappearing again. "Impossible," whispered Veltar. "They are using civilian equipment against military robots." "It is not impossible," said Hyun-woo, who had joined them in the command center. "It is human." The battle raged for 4 hours. Slowly, the defenders were pushed back toward the station's core. But every retreat was planned, and every position was abandoned only after extracting the maximum cost from their enemies. Finally, the last transport ship cleared the danger zone with all the evacuated civilians aboard. The mission was complete. Dong-hyun's voice came over the communication system, calm despite the sounds of battle in the background. "All civilians are safe. Defensive teams can begin withdrawal to the escape pods." But there was a problem. The robots had damaged the escape pod bay. There was no way for the defenders to leave the station. "Dong-hyun," So Young called over the radio, "the evacuation route is blocked."